Team Wild Gear, but today is not a gear review, today is a gear unveiling. Now we're pretty lucky here at Team Wild because we get sent quite a lot of cool stuff to play with, but sometimes it can take a little while before we manage to get it out into the field, create cool videos and then upload them for you to enjoy. And we know you like to be kept up to date with what's new, what's cool or what's just a little bit different. So each week we're going to bring you a sneak preview as to what's arrived here in the Team Wild Armoury so you know what's coming. Now behind me we have something that is officially very cool. This is the Merkel RX Helix super fast loading straight pull rifle. But we're not going to talk about that today. What we're going to talk about is what's going on it. I'm going driven wild boar hunting in the Czech Republic and I need a scope. But I need a scope that will do driven boar hunting as well as flexible enough to do slightly longer range stuff in case I want to shoot chamois or mouflon. Now traditionally with a driven hunt you'll use an aim point or maybe a low magnification scope, say a 1:6 or a 1.5-10x42. But then that does limit you to around 100-150 yards, whereas I like to shoot sometimes a little bit longer, particularly for chamois. So I phoned my friends at York Guns and said, look guys, what have you got? And they said, no problem Ian, we've got just the thing for you. And they sent me this bad boy. This is a Leica Magnus 1.5-10x42. Yeah, 1.5-10. That's a 6.7 magnification range. Unheard of, but very cool. Not only that, it's a super high quality optic, as you'd expect from Leica. It has aquadura coating on the lenses to repel dust, dirt and rain, a compact 650 gram aluminium body and illuminated reticle. Not only that, it is one of the most compact chassis I've seen in that range of magnification for a long time. So, it looks good on the outside. Let's have a look in the box. Okay, what's really clear is the box is very shiny. And there we have it. Now that is a very compact and stylish chassis. Quite a large objective, quite a large eyepiece. Now on top this appears to be the night and day settings for the illumination. It has a very smooth but slightly stiff magnification ring, but as you can see it is very sexy. Now this is very cool here. This is for two reasons. Firstly, so that it's nice and easy to adjust with gloved fingers, this huge dial illumination control, and I think it's incredibly cool that you can have a night setting for if you're shooting deer in low light, and then a day setting because you'll need a much brighter dot if you're shooting wild boar during the day. So that is an incredibly cool feature. Now it doesn't have, by the looks of it, any rheostat type control. It's just two settings, although I'm sure when I read the instruction manual, which sooner or later it happens, I'll be proved wrong. I do think it's a very stylish contemporary design. So these dust covers over the adjustment turrets, they have a nice rubber texture to them, really positive clicks, and as you can see it just looks cool. Now I haven't used it yet, obviously I've only just got it out of the box. It does appear to me to be incredibly well made. So what we're going to do now, you've had a look at it, is actually fit it to the RX Helix and see what it looks like. So here we have the Helix in a Buffalo River gun mount, and this is roughly where this bad boy needs to go. Now the great thing about these Leica Magnus scopes is they have 9 centimeters of eye relief, which is not too bad when you're shooting a 30-06. There's a little bit of kick to it, a little bit more than a 308, not quite as much as a 300 Win Mag, but it's nice to be able to have that little bit of space between the eyepiece of the scope and your face. So to get it in the right place, there's 3 arrestor slots at the front here and 2 at the back for Weaver style mounts. And I'm using these Leupold quick release medium rings. Now as you can see, they're 70 quid, but there's no point in putting this quality of scope on this quality of rifle unless the mounts you're using are appropriate for the job. So, first thing we need to do really is figure out where they need to go. Now I'd imagine that they're going to need to be reasonably close together, given the fact that this is an incredibly short scope. That is a very sexy compact chassis. And once we've got them on here, we can take the rings off and then mount them. The great thing about quick release scopes, particularly for driven wild boar, is if you do find that you're not enjoying the shooting with a scope, if you're not picking the sight picture up quick enough, you can take them off really fast and then use your open sights. Now these ones have got true glow pins on them, so they're really bright. But I'm pretty sure that I'm going to get just the sight picture I'm looking for from this Leica. Okay, so there they are. The top of the rings are now taken off. But because these crescent style rings, actually they're a little bit narrower, they close in around the tube of the scope, which means if you just push them over the scope tube like that, you're going to scratch it. So I'm just going to show you a way that you can actually get them on without unnecessarily scratching the scope tube. Now what you need to do is get 2 small Allen keys, or Torx keys, it doesn't really matter which, and then without going all the way through, hook them into the holes so you can hold them like so, and then as you can see, if you squeeze those, they just open that ring up enough that you can slot it over the scope tube without damaging it, just like so. So now that ring is on that scope tube but hasn't scratched it. So we're going to do that twice. No more scratches on your scope tubes. Not only does it make them look better, it also makes sure you can retain the higher value when you come to sell them on, if you come to sell them on. Now, I'm not sure if you can see there, but we don't have very much room for manoeuvre in there at all. That front scope mount is pretty much right the way to the back mount, and there isn't much flexibility for moving the rear mount either, so we're just going to have to make do. Hopefully my eye's going to come into the right place, so we're just going to get the bolts back in there now, the little bolts on the top of the scope mounts, using the Torx nuts. Now when it comes to replacing your Torx bolts on your scope clamps, I prefer to use a torque wrench if I can, just make sure you get the right pressure, or the right amount of pressure on the bolts. Unfortunately I don't have a torque wrench that has a Torx hex fitting, so we're going to have to just do it guesswork, a little bit of guesswork, but we seem to be okay here. Also, when you're tightening bolts and you have 4 on each clamp, try and tighten them diagonally from one another so that you can try and get some even pressure on the clamps. If you don't, you're in danger of the clamp pinching the tube, and if it pinches a tube, then you're going to cause an unsightly indentation, which once again can have an impact on the value of the scope. So there we go, looks pretty good. All I need to do now is check it for eye relief. Subscribe to Team Wild TV for the best vermin busting, hunting gear, bow hunting and air gunning videos on YouTube.